Alright, so after a literal hour and a half of trying to connect this microphone to my phone, we're here. And here it is, the ABCDEFG.
Tilly Popper's always in my city, Mills from Philly, really killy Billy all the opposition, so we really winning.
So we're finally doing this review, 100 miles of the Niu Xqi3. I know, long name. I'm just going to tackle this right off the bat. Elephant in the room. I don't have a seat. Why is that? Well, we kind of got a deal with Guts, the seat company. Now I say kinda because they didn't make any kind of seat for this, and honestly no one did. So I reached out to him. I was like, hey, I got this bad boy. I think it would be really cool if, you start making seats for it. How can I help with that? All that kind of good stuff. So they came back at me and said, send us your seat and let's get it made. Now, making a seat is obviously kind of a long process. And during that process, they realized that just due to how this seat is made, they wouldn't put that in production. Just kind of how the foam is like stuck to the seat. This guy, shout out Andy, he told me that it's very similar to how a Harley seat is built, and you would just have to get whole new foam for it. It's just a production nightmare. Really isn't worth their time. It would be a ton of money for the consumer. And long story short, there's not going to be a produced aftermarket seat for this bike. Which leads me into actually my first point. So this is kind of a tall bike. I do have aftermarket wheels on here, so it does make it a little bit taller. Again, I don't have a seat, so kind of take this with a grain of salt. And I'm about 5'10", 200 pounds. This is me on it. I do kind of tippy toe. Not too bad, but just a little bit. It does feel really nice under you. It feels very, very sturdy. Now, it does feel like a very solid bike, but the seat is very uncomfortable, especially for long rides. The seat honestly is like my biggest gripe so far. It just like digs up in your thighs. It's really like hard, right? It's solid, feels high quality, but I think the way that the foam is attached to like the seat cover, that might be the reason that it's just so like it has some sharp corners on it. I wish I had it so I could show you guys, and I'm sorry that I'm making this so late and with the bike kind of like taken apart, because I figured I would just do this now while I'm kind of sitting on it. But like the rest of the bike, it does have some sharp corners and it just digs. I think if you're determined enough, there is a way around this, kind of like I'm looking into. I'm definitely just going to figure it out, because the rest of the bike is honestly pretty dang sexy. And I kind of feel like it's hard to disagree with me on that. So one thing that kind of makes up for the really hard seat is this super cushy suspension, front and rear. You can make it a little bit stiffer, which I would actually kind of recommend, just because it is like really soft. Again, I feel like they're kind of overcompensating for that hard seat. I don't know how that would make sense, but it does in my head, and when you sit on it and you ride it, it would make sense. And we're down on the ground again because we feel like family down here. I'm kidding. But something that you do want to keep in mind is this does have a direct drive. So there is oil in it. You will be having to change this oil. Don't forget to do that. Another pretty cool thing to make this extra cushy is there's this extra rear linkage right there. So, again, it does help out with that cushness. Hey, cat. But it does help out with that cush, and overall kind of makes the bike feel a little bit more stable and solid. Also forgot to mention there's a bar in between the foot pegs, so you're not going to notice any kind of bending when you're doing jumps or putting a lot of pressure on it. Also, these tires are aftermarket. I would highly recommend swapping those out as soon as you can, just because the other ones are like super knobby, but also like really soft at the same time. If you're riding on anything but like soft wood chip dirt, you're going to eat through them immediately, especially on pavement. And I actually really love these. These are just some Shinkos. Good for on-road, off-road, especially downtown Chicago. In the middle of winter, I can kind of get away with all season with these. Another thing I want you guys to notice over here is the fact that there is no plate holder or rear blinkers on here, because I took those off. I think it's fugly. Plain and simple. I don't like the rear fender thing going on back there. I've seen it a bit on some bikes, like bigger, like gas bikes, and I'm just not a fan of it. I've seen a lot of people actually relocate their blinkers to right here, which looks really good. I might do that just because it looks really cool. I also took them off up front. Two reasons for that. One, ugly, looks like deer antlers. You cannot tell me otherwise. Two, turning signals up front in a bike, not too necessary. Give or take. You can argue that with me in the comments. And last but not least, on the side profile of this thing is these big old side plates. Now these are removable, and it does look really sick without them. And arguably, it looks really cool with them. These do light up. I will say they are like really bright, but it does look cool at the same time. I might take them off soon just because another huge gripe I have with this bike is the front headlight is always on. I gotta change that. Like, it's really bothering me that it's just always on, no matter what. And if you want them to be, these will be always on unless you unplug them. But they do come unplugged from the get-go, so you have to plug them in. So it's kind of like your choice. And then if you want to take the side plate, I digress. You get what I'm saying here. Now, power on this bad boy. I love it. I personally love it. I think it's a very good amount. It's not too much. It's not like absurd. You're not sitting on like an E-Ride 3, but it's nice. You're pushing out. So we got a little boost button up top. It says to be pushing out 11.5 kilowatts. And then standard, you're pushing like 8.5, I believe, 8.3, something like that. So you're kind of chilling. It feels really good. You get up to speed, goes about 50. Dude, and if you really want to pop that wheelie at, 20, 25, 30, you can hit that boost and you can just rip it. It's really easy to get up. It is really heavy, so keep that in mind if you're popping wheelies. It's a little heavy on the front end because this has a really heavy battery for what it is. Now, the battery, to get into it, you do have to take the seat off. For some reason, I do have a broken seat button, but that's okay because you can get into it a million different ways. There's a little seat button right here. I'll show you guys that when I bring you up close. You press that, it unlocks the seat, and you can just kind of lift it off after unlatching it. Mine doesn't work. Maybe I turned it off in the settings when I was messing with it. Who knows? Personally, I kind of like that because the other way you can get in is right here through the key, and you can undo it. And you want to know what? It gives me an extra layer of security, which is actually really nice. I don't really feel too worried about leaving the battery in it and like locking it up downtown and just leaving it for like an hour or two while I'm doing something. It's kind of really nice. So if there's a way to turn it off without like disconnecting it, it's honestly kind of recommended, especially if you're in a populated area. Now, some gripes about the battery. It is in this bad boy, another latch you got to undo. And once you get it open, it is a 72 volt, I believe 35 or 32. I'll correct it in editing, so whatever. And then you're revealed to this bad boy. Now, I'm going to bring you all up close. So it might sound like I'm complaining a lot about this bike. I'm not, because I do absolutely love it. I just want to tell you guys what I noticed is wrong with it. And one of them is this. This is the only way to charge it. That means you unplug this. And if you want to leave the battery in the bike, which truthfully I don't, I'm just saying if you did, here is the charger. You see what way it's facing? You got to tuck it up in there. That's just how it is. Love it, hate it, you'll most likely hate it. But I did hear that the next version is going to have like a side port, which is really cool. Also, if I really, really care, because another thing is the range. Can get about 40 miles on a full charge, which is fine. And that's if I'm like ripping it. I think personally that's fine because, again, where I live, I'm not going anywhere farther than 40 miles. But if I really wanted to, I could replace the battery. I know some people who do like custom work who could just get me a battery that fits perfectly with this charger and a side port charger. However we want to do it. But that's down the line. Now, here it is, the good part. Again, don't mind this because I'm taking it off, and since I took off the blinkers, this is kind of irrelevant right here, the blinkers and but there is a high beam, so I'm trying to figure out how I could splice the high beam button to possibly have a blackout button. I think that would be really cool. Now with that, we also have the Eco and Sport mode button. Love this switch. You're always sitting in sport. We all know you are, so it doesn't really matter. We also have a kill switch right here. We do have an extra low one of these in the back, but I do have it zip tied on here, so you're not going to lose it anywhere. Throttle, decent. These grips are really cool. I'm going to replace them very soon. And right up here, we actually have a fork lock, which is really nice, especially, like I said, being downtown, just having a fork lock, that extra little bit of security on there when I chain it up to a bike post. Something that some people really like on here is these big brake levers. I'm not a huge fan. I like them a little bit smaller, but I have heard some people really like them. We do have the controls right up here. This is your boost button. And on the other side, again, you can control some other things on the interface. This big, beautiful display. Now turning it on with the little puck, it's actually my favorite way to turn it on. You get this beautiful little light up. See how bright this is, though? It is always on. It's kind of brutal, but you get this beautiful display. I absolutely love it. And like I said, you got a timer. You got an NIU pathing thing. I haven't really used it. I know if you connect it to the app, it works pretty okay. Nothing crazy. That's why I just put this here for my phone, and I use Apple Maps anyways. Turn it to unlock it. You gotta put the kickstand up, hold the brake, push the button, kind of like a real motorcycle, then you're live. Again, another bright light. Everything on here just lights up. It's a lot, but it is cool. Really loud horn. I'm not doing it in here because, you know, I got a charger right here, which is also really cool. A lot of gadgets on this thing that truthfully kind of feel unneeded, but it's a nice touch and it feels like they didn't really skip out, which is, again, super nice. I am going to leave this thing on for a second because I do want you to see it in all its glory. It looks cool. I love it. I love how it looks. I love how it looks riding down the street, especially at night. You look badass. But it does just have its issues. I know I've skipped over a lot of probably important little nerdy details here and there, but this is just kind of how I feel about it and how I feel riding this every single day as my commuter, as my have fun, as my vlogging thing, all that kind of stuff. All in all, the question is, would you buy it again? Me? Yes. I love this bike. I love it so much. I'm going to be putting a lot of money into it. I'm already trying to figure out the seat thing, and I'm willing to spend a lot of money to do so just because it's one little thing that I think will make a huge difference for me personally. Other than that, you know, little mods, new chain, pegs, forks, already did the wheels, handlebars, all that good stuff. I think this bike has so much potential, and it's so niche, and I'm so excited about that no one really does this bike or has it. And if you do, you're in this tiny little club that's really cool. And I think it just has a ton of untapped potential. Huge space for a new motor, by the way. I'd even say that, but there is a Walmart amount of space in this area. Just saying. Now, the issues is the compatibility. No one really makes parts for these. The spare parts are difficult to get. You got to know someone, and then you got to like call the place in Seattle. It's kind of a pain, but if you really do want a niche bike that no one else is doing, that is still really good, has a little bit of weird quirks to it that are fun, and people definitely turn their head and say, whoa, what is that? What's going on there? I think you'd be really happy with this, because I am. And I'm really excited to see where I take this bike and what I do next with it. And I'm really excited to share that process with you. Now, on a real note, why I've been gone so long, what's going on, I do want to shout out the sponsor. You know how it goes. I'm throwing it at the end of the video because whatever. Goldenmotors.bike, use code 24K Johnson, link below, all that. Why I've been gone for so long? I've been busy. I've been busy with work. I started a clothing brand, which I will also throw that in the link below. Check it out. Maybe I'll even throw up a promo code in editing for you guys who come from this channel. That'd be really cool. And another thing is that seat's been gone, so I haven't really had time to, or had the opportunity to make like a vlog type video. I do want to do some maintenance on this bike. I got to get that tire. I want to make that true, the front tire true. That's what they call it. Pretty much make it straight. I should change the oil. I may change the oil. I could wait a couple hundred more miles before I do it. I may do that in here. We'll see. I also think that would be a really fun video to make just because no one else has done it on this bike. No one is making anything on this bike, and that's why I'm so excited. And I also had planning the seat cover video. That was supposed to come out sooner than it took. Kind of just got this news about how this is going to be going down. So it kind of blew a hole in my ship, but it's okay. We're figuring it out. We're getting this video out. And I am sorry that there's no ride at the end of this video or anything like that. But there will be another video soon. As soon as I get a new seat in, we will be out. We will do the vlogs. We'll bring that back. I do just want to say thank you guys for the support. I know you guys have been watching the reels, still watching the other videos, liking, commenting. I see you guys, and I really do appreciate you. And I'm really excited for this journey with this bike here. So until next time. Peace.
Bitch, I'm really in it. In a brand new Benz with 4G autos and the windows tinted. Father, please forgive me every time I'm going out, I'm sinning. Me and bro cop matching Glocks and post on Instagram. Twinning.